No, but let me just go by what you say. Okay, Deji, what's that senator from Kaduna State? I've forgotten his name now. And also all the panelists, especially Daddy Freeze and all that. I in everything that I watched, I'm still going to ask Nigerians, what is your standard of picking a leader? What is your standard? We don't have standards. And that's why we go like a herd, looking for somebody like, a shepherd to just lead us. So a shepherd can lead you into the ditch. A shepherd can lead you into the river, as long as he's giving you grass to eat. And when he hits his stick, you all move, you all toe the line. What is your standard? Nigerians, what is your standard? In fact, you that is listening to me, because many of you men and women here, your children, if you have children of marriageable age, your children come to meet you. Mommy, daddy, I want to get married. You have standards of who you would like to be, either your son-in-law or your daughter-in-law, right? You already have a standard about picking somebody, or even in the case of you're picking a life partner, you have a standard. Yes, we all have standards for certain things. But what is your standard? Have you really asked yourself? Because I've asked myself these questions, and I know the standard of leadership that I want to take my country to the next level. What is your standard? Honestly, do you have a standard? Does Nigeria as a country, Nigerians, not a country, Nigerians, do we have a standard? And even if we have a standard, what is our standard? And what are your standards influenced by? Is your standard influenced by tribe? Is your standard influenced by religion? Is your standard influenced by, how well the person has managed the company before? Is your standard influenced by what he has done for you personally with your family? Is your standard by, the person's education only? Is your standard by the virtue of maybe the person is handsome or ugly or looks a certain way? Is your standard by the tone of the person's voice? Is your standard by, the integrity of that person to the best of your knowledge? Is your standard by the citizenship of that person in that country? Is your standard by the same association the person comes from? Maybe you are in Ogboni society. Is that your standard? Or if the person is in one of these secret cults, all this area and all those black people, is that your standard? Is your standard by if the person built a borehole in your community? Is your standard that the person comes from your village? Is your standard that the person is your cousin? Is your standard that the person is your blood brother? Or is your standard that the person is your brother or your in-law? Or is your standard by the fact that the person changed the state in which you were in and kind of changed your life and kind of opened your mind to the possibilities that you have? What is your standard, Nigerians? Is your standard by the fact that the person gives you, by December 20th, they give you a bag of rice and 20,000 naira? That one is sure banker, you must get it every year. Is that your standard? Is your standard by the person who went to school in America? Or the person is wearing suit and tie? Or the person is speaking English? What is your standard of picking a leader politically? Is your standard by because the person belongs to, the same political party as you? Is your standard by the person has some sort of integrity? Is your standard that the person is a pure Nigerian, that his mother and his father is a Nigerian? Make a list of your standard. That is the assignment I'm giving every person listening to the sound of my voice. Ask yourself, wait, what is my standard of really picking, somebody that can actually lead a country? Not lead your local government. Oh, maybe we should start from there, yeah. Because it's from your local government and your councillors, that's like the bedrock. When you select your councillors in your local, in your vicinity, your ward, the standard of the kind of person that you want. Is your standard because the person is quiet, or is your standard because the person is vocal? Is your standard because the person is creative, or is your standard of you listen to the innovative way in which the person can open up your mind? Is your standard looking at the person, recognizing the limitations that you have presently, and also giving you solutions of how you can come off that limitation? What is your standard, for crying out loud? What in your standard, Nigerians, of picking a leader? What is your standard? Because even the so-called politicians now, and listen, it's not even by age, because we have 89-year-old, 95 years old. Me, I believe Bola Ahmed Tinubu is like about 95. People say, okay, maybe I'm overstretching it. It's like about 90 years old, 89, 90 years old. What is your standard? Because these people, they have a standard though, but their standard is not serving you and I. Know this. These people have a standard, just like you presently, you have a standard, but that's your standard. Is it serving you? If it's not serving you, if it's not serving your community, if it's not giving you hope for your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, or if it's not setting, the standard of how you want your country to be like, even better than Dubai or United States or Europe, then maybe perhaps you need to sit down and go back to the drawing board and know what your standards is. Because whatever policies these people bring is going to affect how you live. It's going to affect the quality of life of you and your children, possibly future generations. So Nigerians, what is your standard? That's what I just looked at in that Honest Bunch interview. And like, everybody had their standard. But there's something that they were talking about. It kind of, to me, is like a reflection of how they are presenting themselves in the Honest Bunch. For example, Senator Sani, I'm trying to remember his name. Former Senator Sani from Kaduna. I don't know if Kaduna North or South. He was talking about how you are being treated if you're an activist in the floor of the Hallowed Chambers and you're speaking against or you're questioning, certain policies or why government should be boring. You will be ostracized, basically. You will be ostracized. And it's a typical example. He gave himself as an example and said, listen, he got burnt for that. But you are presenting, you are on a show now. You've told us who you are, what you strive for, and you've been in the government. You've had that opportunity, how you expressed yourself, and how you were burnt. Fast forward today, the people who are presenting themselves that they can take Nigeria to the next level in 2027 as a presidential candidate. You were not able to successfully convince or educate with all your experience and exposure, or educate Nigerians who are sitting on the fence, who don't understand, the politics or the scheme of things going on. You were not able to convince people or to even teach people or inspire people to say, from all these people, this is who you should look out for. List it out. Senator Sani, those were the things I was expecting from you. And the reason why I'm saying from you in particular, and not Deji, because you have been in the government. You know how these people are. You have been in the trenches. You have gone to jail. You have experienced intimidation. You have experienced, being ostracized by your peers, by your professional peers, because of your opinion, because of your activism. So I was expecting him to list out, like, listen, Nigerians, these people are A, B, C, D. They're the chip of the old block. However, maybe because these people were not posing the right questions, because obviously it's obvious what their agenda was. But however, I would expect him to say, with all these people now, because that is our reality, take it or leave it. We have 2 political parties or 3 or whatever, and the powerhouses that are playing, the names were listed out. Possibly the question should have been, in your opinion, amongst all these people, tell a Nigerian who is undecided now, from all these people, what should you look out for? If you think that you are the holy goat, tell us now what we should look out for. And that's why this program is here. Naija Watch. We are talking. Many people's opinions have changed over time. Sometimes we talk here. What we say can influence how we are going to pick who we are going to vote. Edo State election was a typical example. It was a typical example. We keep talking and talking. Some people's opinion shifted to this candidate and they gave reasons why. Some later shifted. Some actually look back and say, you know what, looking at the permutations, I think this person is better. You understand? So that is why we have Senator Shehu Sani come out there to speak. These are the kinds of things that I expect him to educate and inspire people on how to pick a leader based on his own opinion. because whatever opinion anybody say, you might not like it, but at least you pick 1 or 2 or 3. Now going by Deji now, Deji is somewhat like Omoyele Sowore, somewhat, you know, and you know when he talks, I just laugh and smile. I see someone like Deji being like Adams Oshomole. Adams Oshomole that we all grew up with, you know, at least if those of you who grew up in Nigeria or was Labour president or Labour chairman or whatever it is they call it, and you know, fought IBB government, you know, Obasanjo, and people were hailing him and all that, and you know, but we did not see the cocoa that was behind all those hailing, you know. But fast forward, because of his reputation of being a Labour leader in Nigeria, many of us, including myself, were ignorant of the kind of personality you were dealing with. Now he became governor, and now he's a senator. And look at the things that he's supporting, are the things that he was against, or seemingly, let me put it quote unquote, fighting for when he was Labour leader. Now, Deji Adeyanju is like, if he had the opportunity, he would be like present day Oshomole. That's all I can say about him. That's all I can say about him for now. And then you see when Shehu Sani was saying something about, even if you bring Atiku, he's going to bring Shiroma as a CBN governor. He's going to bring this. If you bring Peter Obi, you bring the one Nwachukwu as CBN governor. That's like who talks like that? So because you have seen that we cannot be tribal blind. You have subsequently seen every president come and they all try to be tribalistic. I would say even a little bit of Obasanjo that was not so tribalistic per se. You understand? But because you have seen year after year, you know, period after period, everybody's been tribalistic. So now you squeezing Peter Obi into that tribalistic system. And then you now make the people who are undecided voters now look like, oh, perhaps the ignorant ones, oh, perhaps maybe Peter Obi will really be like that. Maybe it will just be an Igbo presidency. Just like now, it's a Yoruba administration. Just like Edo State is an Esan administration. You guys know I really like to say it the way it is. Yeah, Edo State is an Esan administration. It is. And this administration of the man from Bodilon is a Yoruba administration. When Buhari was there, it was a Fulani administration. And you see all these things that they talk about. Peter Obi, many people don't read Peter Obi's text or videos. When he was asked these questions, even when he went to the North last year, I don't know if you guys remember, or maybe people just blank their mind, because I always remember what people say. He said, he was telling the Northern elders when they were asking him, what can he do for them? He said, listen, he's not a tribalistic person. A woman asked him this question. That is he going to be an Igbo presidency if you become governor, if you become president? He said, his chief of staff, his ADC to date is from Kanu. Till date, they still have a relationship. The person that is heading his company is a Northern person. He's not his Igbo brother. He's not his Nna brother. So for somebody who is a billionaire, and he put a northerner, this is like water and salt. A northerner and an Igbo man. An Igbo man brings a northerner to take charge of his company. Hello. Senator Seushani, why would you want to squeeze Peter Obi into that tribalistic system that you just displayed that is actually, happening now? Why do you want to squeeze Peter Obi in? That was unfair. I was totally disgusted when he said that. So if you're listening ABCDs like that, okay, Sani, what are you educating the people? Because when people talk like that, it tells you that they're part of this government. It's trying to tell you that there's nothing under the sun that can change the government, maybe except God. Deji also displayed the same thing, but he was trying to twist and turn it in the same way and try to put in his friend, who is also part of the game, Omoyele Sowore, and make him seem like there's nothing, Bola Kale going to get the second. Like, come on, then why are you there? Why are we even watching this honest bunch? I won't be surprised. The person who is the owner of the honest bunch is also, he has to pledge allegiance. He's in Lagos. If they not talk where they go, maybe it's the tax that is owing in Lagos to have that show, because I know that studio is in Lagos. They will tax them. They'll start asking for things that they're supposed to pay. So everything has to be get to or sort of. The people that they bring to the show kind of get towards sort of supporting the government. They don't want to make it too obvious. That's what I saw. It's a whole lot of energy talking about Nigeria. I'm just gonna move forward. I'm not ready. I'm not in the mood to talk about VDM and the rest. So I'm just gonna go forward to this woman, you know, who unfortunately lost her sister. May her sister so rest in peace. And Mr. Elvis, I'm happy that you said, unfortunately, her sister passed. But however, this person who is crying, do you have a voter's card? Have you registered for your you have a voter's card, first of all? Do you understand what you are going through in the nation? The person who is in charge right now, the person who is in charge of the nation, the commander-in-chief is the man from Bodilon. Are you supporting him? Do you understand his policies? Last time, if you voted last time, who did you vote for? Because everybody who is being kidnapped, every family, if you are being kidnapped or something happened in the hospital or the bad roads or something, you know, you sympathize with these people. However, when these things happen, people also need to understand that these things are happening to you. It happens all over the world, but at a barest minimum. And even if it happens, these are actions that are taken because the people trust the system. But these things happen to you. Do you realize that? You tell the woman, do you realize that if you vote this man now, see what happened to your sister? It don't happen to people. Not to chop money, enter pocket, write budget. They are using the 2024 budget. That's what Tambuwa said. Present day Nigeria 2026. They are still using the 2024 money for the budget they are using for 2024 is what they are using 2026. They have not touched 2025. They have not touched 2026. Where are those money? They were being signed for. Abi, where the money? It didn't start from the man from Bodilon. That is how they've been operating for a very long time. That's why there's a lot of secrecy. There's a lot of cartel. There's a lot of occultic, satanic group that if you're not part of it, you'll be ostracized. Even if you were voted as a senator or a federal house of rep, if you are not in the box, you will be ostracized and they will not hide it. And that's why I can kind of feel what Natasha Akpoti was going through. That was just a male chauvinistic thing she was going through. Amongst other things, they ostracized her from some committees that she was part of. They ostracize you. Is that how it's supposed to be? Well, just like in a classroom, like in a high school, where people have cliques. That's how Nigeria is being operated. And the strongest clique with the strongest set of people, if you don't beat them, if you don't join them, they will push you aside. You will just be there as a furniture until when it's time for them to discard you. That is how Nigeria is being operated. That is how our Senate is being operated. And that's why last time I was here in this program, when we're talking about Section 63, Section 137 and 138 that Mr. Mike Guinea was talking about, I said that if that's not changed, there's no need for an election. And then I think Mr. Jonathan or somebody else also appealed. I think Mr. I've forgotten who was talking about, like, okay, let us appeal and protest and talk to the Senate. They have to change that section or amend it. Let me use the right term, amend it. And I was telling people, okay, after the open, they will not amend it. You and I know. Elvis, let me stop here. Thank you.
All right, Madam Rita, thank you very much, man. I would have given you more time, but more people here. I'd like to hear from others. Thanks for your wonderful submission. I appreciate you all. Thanks for your time.